Do you know a talented teenager who might be finishing high school sometime in the next 2, 3 or 4 years? What they choose to do next, whether to go to university, what to study at university, what university to go to, will be a life-changing choice for them. Help them out, have a chat with them, make them think, inspire them, maybe show them this video. Help them understand that all opportunities are still open, but that they won't be forever. And so it's up to them to choose which one to grab. Let them understand that they are allowed to choose the most ambitious and prestigious options, regardless of where they come from, provided they are smart, they commit to excellence early rather than at the last minute, and they are willing to work hard towards it. There is a myth that the University of Cambridge only admits rich white boys. As a full professor at Cambridge and admissions officer for computer science for Trinity College, Cambridge, I can assure you this is totally false. We don't care about your social status, your wealth, your race or your gender. We only care that you are brilliant, that you have a sharp brain and that you are a quick learner. We want to admit people with great potential wherever they're from, whatever they look like, and help them develop that potential to the fullest. The false myth is perpetuated by classist, racist and misogynistic people who demotivate young pupils by telling them early on that they won't fit in at Cambridge unless they are rich white boys. This puts the kids down, deters them from applying and creates a vicious circle. Let's break it. I'm here to give you first-hand information from someone who actually does admissions, and I'm also recording videos with current students of mine who are not rich white boys, but who have been admitted because they are brilliant. So you can hear it from them directly and let their experience inspire you. There's a whole playlist up there. Of course, many better structured initiatives than my own also exist that try to break this vicious circle, and one of them is called Target Oxbridge, a free program to encourage and help black pupils to apply to Oxford and Cambridge. The pupils get personalized advice, mentorship and residential visits where they get to meet us. So I recently volunteered to serve as one of the Cambridge academics who would meet a group of students in the context of Target Oxbridge. And in today's video, I'm going to answer publicly the questions I received from them, so that they may be useful to more than just the 15 or so young people I met that morning. So please don't view this narrowly as just advice on getting into Cambridge or Oxford. Take it instead as the message that you should believe in yourself, aim high, and work very hard to fulfill your potential regardless of what other people might say about you and your background. If you have the intellectual firepower to do so, invest in yourself, invest in your education, commit to going to university, even if you're the first person to do so in your family, and improving yourself, because these are going to be the years in which you lay the foundation on which you can then build a successful and satisfying professional career. Cambridge is not the only excellent university in the world. If you're talented, what matters is that you get yourself a good education. Attend any of the great universities in the world. I continue to be impressed by a young woman who featured several times on this channel already, Natalie Schell, who is now a student at Stanford in the United States and who continues to provide fantastic resources to inspire and support other young women who have an interest and talent for science, technology and mathematics. Do visit her website at mathandaiforgirls.org. Now, on to the questions. First of all, I gave the students a piece of a first-year computer science lecture as a kind of try before you buy. Then I asked them to ask me anything they wanted, whether about the lecture or about the computer science course, the admission process, or anything else. And this is what they asked me. How much does computer science in Cambridge overlap with other STEM subjects? Well, the overlap is that in most STEM subjects, you end up using computers as tools, and you must learn to make them do what you want. So in most STEM subjects, you get taught something about how to drive specific computational tools, such as MATLAB and similar data analysis and modeling platforms, and you learn a bit of programming. In computer science, on the other hand, you dig more deeply into computing and programming, and learning not just how you would drive existing tools that someone else built, but learning how you would write those tools in the first place. This is the difference between using a web browser or a spreadsheet or an operating system and actually acquiring the ability to create one from scratch. Someone wrote that operating system you're using, probably someone who studied computer science. So if you have an introduction to programming first year course in both, say, the chemistry department and in the computer science department, then they're going to have a rather different focus, depth, and purpose. I heard that in Oxford the course has a lot of functional programming. How much of the Cambridge course is functional programming and how much is it writing programs for specific hardware? I don't know a lot about Oxford, to be honest, but in Cambridge the first programming language we teach to our undergraduates is indeed a functional programming language called OCaml. I mentioned our use of OCaml at undergraduate level in another video a few months ago, and apparently it has become one of the most viewed on this channel, to my surprise. The reason we use OCaml and its ancestor ML before it is twofold. One reason is because in a first year course we have to cope with a very wide spectrum of programming abilities, from people who have already published a phone app on the App Store or even built their own operating system from scratch, toy operating system but still, to people whom we admitted because they showed great intelligence and the right aptitude for computational thinking, but who have never previously programmed a computer. We have both. And it's really difficult to teach an introductory computing class where your attendees include both of these kinds of people and everything in between, without boring some of them to death or being totally incomprehensible for some others. But most young people with prior programming experience will have worked in something like Python or C++ or Java. So when we use a functional language like OCaml, it's totally alien to almost everyone, and then everybody is reset to the same starting point where they're learning something foreign and new. And so that's our first reason, a big equalizer. And the second reason is because functional programming, by eliminating side effects, makes it easier to model the program mathematically, which makes it easier to prove properties about the program, particularly with regard to correctness. And that's a useful mindset and viewpoint to acquire as a computer scientist, even if you later go back to programming in an imperative language. In technical interviews, are questions based on maths or more on logical deductions? Well, in the kind of technical interviews we do during the Cambridge admission process, what matters is not mainly how much you know, but rather how you think, how you approach a problem you haven't seen before, how capable you are of connecting the dots on the spot when given a hint. When we ask you a question, we are not testing whether you know the answer. If you do, we'll keep asking harder questions until we get to something you don't know the answer to. And then things start to get interesting, and we can see how you reason from there, how quick you are at solving a novel problem and reaching a light bulb moment. Before coming back to the computing department at Cambridge, where I originally earned my PhD, I used to teach in the Department of Engineering at Cambridge. And there, one of the things we did with first-year students was to make them build a bridge out of rolled-up sheets of paper. And then we would test its structural strength by putting increasing loads on it and check what was the maximum weight it could support. And of course, the point is not to make a bridge that won't collapse, because we can always put more weight until it does collapse. The fact that the bridge collapses should not be regarded as a failure of the student. It will happen, and you shouldn't take it personally. And similarly, the fact that we ask you a question you can't answer should not worry you during the interview. It doesn't count as a failure. It will happen. We will make it happen for every candidate we interview. And what matters then is how you proceed in the face of this unknown problem, with our help if needed, how resourceful you are, how quick you are, how creative you are, how teachable you are. Have you met the inventor of the World Wide Web? No, I've never met Sir Tim Berners-Lee, at least yet. On the other hand, I knew quite well Sir Maurice Wilks, who built the EDSAC, the first store program computer in the world. He was also the PhD supervisor of the PhD supervisor of the PhD supervisor of my PhD supervisor. And also, as a totally unrelated bragging point, if you care about these kind of things, until recently I shared this Trinity office with Didier Queloz, who won the 2019 Nobel Prize in Physics for having discovered the first planet outside the solar system. What type of engineering did you do? When I finished high school, I knew I wanted to do computing. I was told I could approach it from the mathematics perspective or from the engineering perspective. I was pretty good at maths. I had the best grades in my class. But I really wanted to build things, build working things. So I thought the engineering approach fitted me best. But the engineering department in my university did not have a computer specialism at the time, so I chose the closest alternative, which was electronic engineering. And I took all of the computer-related courses that were on offer in the department. How much of the course is mathematically based at Cambridge? Mathematics is a solid foundation for computing, so we make you study some foundational mathematics such as vectors, complex numbers, calculus, probability, and so on. And acquiring mathematical skills and methods will be useful to you no matter what you do next. 1/4 of your first year is mathematical courses, taught and examined by mathematicians. The rest of the 3 years is computer science courses, taught by computer scientists. You said you started 2 companies. How did that go? Starting 2 companies taught me many important lessons that I could have never learned from courses or from textbooks, especially Cambridge Authentication, the company that had the most ambitious plans and the greatest prospects, but that I ended up having to dissolve before running out of money. In Silicon Valley, they say that venture capitalists never invest in founders who haven't already failed at least once, because there are some lessons about making a company that you cannot learn any other way. And that was clearly true for me. It was really useful for me to go through that experience. My other company, Cambridge Cyber, which by the way generously funds my expenses in order to keep this YouTube channel alive, is still doing well. And I have the luxury of being able to say no to what I don't find fun and to accept just the jobs I find interesting. An important benefit of running a company is that my clients, my commercial clients, expose me to their own problems in security, which helps me keep my academic research grounded in the real world. And of course, it's also nice to be able to top up my academic salary, which is otherwise much lower than what I would get in industry with my qualifications. Would you mind if someone dropped computer science at A level because it's not so relevant? No, we wouldn't mind at all. We are happy to teach you all the computer science you need from scratch once you get here. If you've done computer science at A level, great, we certainly won't hold it against you. And similarly, if you are self-taught in computing. But we will restart computer science from the ground up together anyway, and we will do it properly and rigorously. So it's not a prerequisite to have already done it at A level. In fact, at Trinity College, we recommend you do maths, further maths, and physics. What are the most telling signs of a capable student when you interview them? As I said earlier when I described the format of our interviews, it's the ability to think on your feet when faced with a problem you don't already know how to solve. How quickly you can take a hint, how quickly you can connect the dots, how resourceful and creative you are in trying other avenues when you get stuck. Ultimately, how teachable you are. We want to take the best students and then push them to their limits to help them realize their intellectual potential in a way that they could never realize if they didn't have the right challenges and stimuli. Why does Trinity recommend specifically physics as an A level for computer science? Physics is the archetypal scientific discipline. The universe runs according to the laws of physics, such as F equals m times a, which physicists discover by observing natural phenomena, making hypotheses, and verifying them by experiment. A physicist needs to be fluent in mathematics to be able to build a model that faithfully describes the world. So physics is the perfect discipline for putting all those abstract mathematics into practice, for giving a meaning and a purpose to the maths. I studied a lot of physics at university that I basically never used in my professional life, but the part of physics that always remains with me is the scientific method. Observe the world, describe it, form a model about it, find the law, do experiments to validate your intuition. The scientific method is part of the core skill set of any scientist, including, of course, computer scientists. And that's why we encourage you to study it as a formative subject, even if just at the very basic stage of A levels. If you have any other questions, ask them below in the comments. If you made it this far, please say DeLorean in a comment to let me know. I have several other videos coming up or already recorded about doing computer science at university, most of them featuring current or past students who are not rich or boys or white. If you know any clever teenagers who might be keen on computing, point them at this playlist and encourage them to invest in themselves and to pursue their dreams.